Hi, I hope you're well. It's me, the guy speaking, Luke. How you doing? So in my last video, I talked about my first 2 months of game dev and how I made 5 itty bitty games. Thanks so much for the kind words and comments and all that. It made me feel all warm inside. I should get that checked out. So following Code Monkey's advice on his video, I have now moved on to a slightly larger project to make a full and finished game, though still relatively small in scope, and to do it within a month. I'm now just over a week into that game, and I thought I'd pop in to give you guys a quick and sneaky update. The game. So I had a couple of ideas for the game that I could work on this month, but every time I wrote down an idea, my mind kept going back to Paper Defender, my simple doodle defender game I made a couple of weeks back. And from experience, I've learned that if you can't stop thinking about a thing, it usually means that your subconscious is telling you something. Go and do the flipping thing, yeah? Okay, so yeah, I guess I'm doing Paper Defender again. I'm turning it into a bigger, better, a real life game. And now I'm talking about levels and a boss fight and an upgrade system, special moves, and even a story, which is quite important to me. The first week was all about laying the groundwork. I didn't want to start working on a later element of the game, say like the third level or the boss fight, and then find out that I don't have a system in place to support that, or even have a way to progress through levels, for example. So I spent a lot of this week just laying out what I consider to be the foundations that I can build upon throughout the rest of the month. Number one, I added a level selector to the game in the form of a swanky to-do list. My plan is that the later levels won't be available until you hit a certain points threshold in the previous level, and then you'll get a nice little tick when you've done that one. To do this, I had to start out by updating and building out my high score system. When I first made the high score system, I spent hours writing code and using what they call a singleton method to cache the player's top score, not realizing that Unity has a built-in way of doing this with something called player prefs. So after some hacking and a little bit of duct tape here and there, a little bit of elbow grease, I have a fancy new high score system that actually works. So now you can quit the game, go back into the game, and it will remember your high score. Amazing. 2, I also started working on an upgrades menu, which meant that I also needed to add some upgrades to the game. The first of which is a barrel roll maneuver. This was actually super simple to implement, and I was quite happy with it. I set a key input to trigger a new animation that rotates the sprite, but also turns off the collider during the barrel roll, meaning that my little guy can now evade enemy projectiles. And it looks cool AF. I don't say AF normally, but it feels apt. I did find a weird stacking problem with the coroutines, which meant that I had to enforce a rule for only one barrel roll at a time. The other update I made was the bullet time mechanic. I used the cool Brackeys tutorial for this one, and following a similar method to what I used with the barrel roll, with a key press, a coroutine slows down time for a couple of seconds to help you dodge them bullets. Mainly though, when combined with the barrel roll, it looks cool AF. And I never say that, but I've said it twice so far, and it's apt. With a couple of upgrades in place, I went back to my upgrades menu, added some sliding post-it notes, and developed a simple toggle system. Eventually, you'll need to unlock these options, but for now, it's just a tick box, on or off. So to get these toggles working, I again used the player press feature to register whether the ability was on or off, and that took some work. But with the power of Google, I managed it. What else? Okay, so I also added some animations to my bad dudes, so when they get hit, they get sore for a second. I also played around with Cinemachine and the Unity timeline to start working on some cinematics. They're not very good yet, but they look kind of cool. Also, I added a dialogue system for those cinematics. Oh, I added an options menu to set the game volume and screen resolution. Very, very important. And then, lastly, I also worked on a little bit of music for the game. Moody, reflective music that you can hear right now. That might make for the end credits or something, I'm not sure yet. Right now it's called Across the Inky Seas. Anyway, that's where I'm at right now. I've got just under 3 weeks left, and I really want to start working on the next levels, and I want to start making some doodle enemies. So, like I said, this was quick and sneaky. If you didn't see it, it must have snuck right past you. So, thanks for watching. I'll be in next week to give you another update. If you've got any suggestions for the game, I'd love to hear them in the comments below. I'm trying not to overscope too much, because, I'd like to add 10 levels and all. I've got so many ideas. I've got an idea of a sequence where a notebook's closing and the doodle rocket has to escape the closing notebook. I don't know how that would work, but you know, it's in my head. It's fantastic. So yeah, so I'm trying to not go over the top. So if you've got any suggestions, I'd love to hear them in the comments below. Be sure to like and subscribe, or don't like and don't subscribe and get on with your day. Just remember to stay safe out there, and oh yeah, never